Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us today. My name is Karim Ludo. I'm Nucamp CEO, and together with me today is Ludo Fourage. Ludo is the Chief Learning Officer and the other founder of Nucamp together with me.
Hello, everyone.
So again, thanks for being with us, spending the time here to learn more about Nucamp. We're going to spend about an hour together. We'll spend the first 30 minutes telling you a little bit more about Nucamp, about the idea behind Nucamp, but more importantly, the talk about the curriculum, about what you can expect from a bootcamp with Nucamp, and then we'll spend another half an hour answering your questions. So feel free to start putting in some questions on the chat window. We will go through them one by one as soon as we're done with the first part. So with that, let's just dive in. And I want to first just give a brief overview what Nucamp really is. Nucamp is the most affordable, but also the most local and flexible evening and weekend bootcamp available in the US. Our social mission is really to help every aspiring career shifter to transition into the digital economy. So help people that want to get into software development achieve their goal. And we do that by offering quality web development, but at a very affordable price point. So we do this not just in the big cities, but across the country. We're currently offering Nucamp bootcamps in over 150 cities across the US. So how did Nucamp emerge, and what was the thinking behind this new, very innovative model? Well, first, just observing what was available in the market only a year or two ago. You had online boot camps, so a possibility for anyone to get online and basically learn to code on his or her own, which is a very flexible, very cheap way to do it. However, it's just very, very hard to complete a boot camp on your own. Just the coding is a type of activity where you need support. You're confronted with challenges, with issues with your code, concepts that are hard to understand. So it's very, very difficult to go through that process alone. If you've tried, you probably have come to realize this. What we've seen is that the success rates, the completion rates of online program is actually very low. So people turn to the other option, which is traditional boot camps, full-time programs that actually immerse you for usually 3 to 5 months into a program to teach you how to code. And they're great programs, but they require that you stop working. There's an entry selection. They are pretty pricey. The average is $12,000 for the full program, and they're available usually only in big cities. They're not available everywhere. And so Nucamp comes to basically bridge the gap between the two options available out there with a very unique hybrid model that allows you to go through a bootcamp while you continue to work part-time or full-time, helping you learn online during the week with support that is available online. So you're learning online during the week, but not on your own, and with a very structured in-person program on the weekend, or alternatively via video conference. But again, a program that is structured like a traditional bootcamp with support structure, but with the added benefit of being much more affordable. Our price point is below $2,000, being more flexible, obviously, because you can work on your schedule during the week, and then being available in many more cities. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we are able to offer our program across the country. So the history of Nucamp is that we started off in Washington State in 2017. We grew in-state first and then launched our program nationwide late 2018, actually, and early 2019. And today we have had over 1,000 students start the program, and a lot of graduates already coming out of it, obviously. We had over 100 boot camps launched, and we have over 100 instructors that are part of Nucamp that are professionals of the software development industry that are part of it. And as we speak, every Saturday, we are delivering 50 workshops across the country in different cities. We now have the ability to offer our program in many places. Finally, the most important part is what students tell us about the program and their satisfaction, because that is really what our focus is all about. And you can read about us on independent sites such as Course Report. You'll see that we are actually getting really good reviews and actually ahead of some of the big traditional boot camps. So if you look at what we offer, we're very focused on web development. That's actually the only type of bootcamp that we offer today. Ludo will dive into the curriculum in more detail, but at a high level, we have 3 different bootcamps available. We have an introductory bootcamp, which we call Web Development Fundamentals, which is really a short 4-week program for beginners, for people who have no prior experience in coding, for them to determine if that is something that they like, something that they see themselves doing for the long term, and deciding whether they want to go into an advanced program. And we have 2 of those. We have our front end and mobile development program, and then we have our full stack program. Those are the programs that will get you job ready. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They are lasting between 17 to 22 weeks. They're very demanding, but at the end of those programs is really where you can apply to a junior web development position. And again, we'll jump into more details on the curriculum in a few minutes. So about the format itself, as I said earlier, it is online during the week. So basically, you really study at your own pace. What you go through is video lectures, exercises, quizzes, challenges. You also work on your project portfolio, and we'll get into that a little later. But expect that you're going to be working on this 1 to 3 hours per day, depending on just how comfortable you are with coding, but also the classes get a little bit more difficult as you go through the program. What's important is that during the week, you're not on your own. So if you're stuck, if there's something you don't understand, if you need some help, your instructor, your dedicated instructor, because you are grouped in a class for every basically part of the bootcamp, your instructor will be able to help you, guide you, give you hints, solve a hard problem if you're stuck, and basically get you ready to attend the workshop on Saturday. The Saturday workshop is in person or via video conference, and basically it recaps all of the learnings of the week. And then it is the opportunity to go through a more challenging assignment that will really build your skills. It lasts 4 hours. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in whatever time zone you're in. And that's the opportunity also to interact directly with your instructor. So he or she will be physically present with you in a physical location, or present via video conference with you. And then that wraps up the week and opens up then a new week where you'll continue your learning journey. What's important is that with that format, you stay on track and you're forced to progress week after week. So it's not open-ended. You actually have to meet the milestones every week to get to the finish line. So about our workshop locations for the boot camps that we deliver in person, those are usually co-working spaces, partners that we have in different cities. We choose them in a way for their alignment with our social mission. So a lot of these workshop locations already host some meetups, some groups that are interested in software development, that are interested in actually helping other people learn software development. There are also sometimes host actually companies that are in software development. So it's a really good environment to network into for our students that are gradually preparing for their next step and for their career transition. And they're also nice environments. We want to make sure that on a Saturday morning, as you take some time out of your weekend to study hard, you want to do this in a place that's pleasant and welcoming. So you'll find this is a really good spot to study and a really good spot to network. And then the most important part in Nucamp is our instructors. Our instructors are incredible. They are coming from very, very diverse backgrounds, but they have a few key things in common. They are what we call active industry practitioners. They are working professional in software development. So, you know, they're not academics, they're not teachers. They have a full-time job or a part-time job, or they're independent consultants, and they take time out of their busy lives to come and teach our students. So the other thing they have in common is they're passionate. They want to give back. We compensate our instructors, obviously, but it's not an incredible pay because, again, that's part of our social mission to try to keep costs low for our students. So instructors that come and teach at Nucamp really do it because they're excited to be in contact with students and give back. It's actually interesting. A lot of them have gone through a coding bootcamp themselves and know that it's a tough but rewarding journey, and they want to be able to help others do the same thing. The other thing is that they are all local, right? So they are plugged in the local software development community. And that's a very precious resource, especially when you get to the end of the bootcamp and you start to network and think about finding a job. Our students tell us that that is actually, you know, an invaluable resource. And then, as I said earlier, they have very rich and diverse backgrounds. You know, you'll find instructors that are, you know, computer science degrees that have gone through just big companies and have done software development in sort of major companies for 20 years. But you also find people who had very different lives before turning to web development that have gone through boot camp. Some of them actually are self-taught that now do independent consulting or just build websites, you know, for small businesses. And that's really interesting for our students and for you as well, because it helps just better understand the diversity of opportunities out there, what kind of jobs you know, are possible after the boot camp. So about you know, next steps and finding a job after that, because this is really why you're considering going into a web development bootcamp. You know, a few key things. Our focus is really to help you be job ready in the most efficient way possible. So the first point there is just making sure we're targeting the curriculum and the skills that you're going to learn to what the job market is expecting. And that's why there's such a big focus on, first of all, you know, a full stack curriculum. At Nucamp, we don't teach anything else. We don't do data science. We don't do, you know, other types of coding because we know that web development is the easiest and most efficient way to get you a job in the software development industry. And then our curriculum is solely focused around JavaScript and JavaScript stacks. Ludo will get into that into more details. And the reason is really simple. It is because it's what is in the biggest demand out there in the market. That's what you know, employers are looking for, and that's the most sort of versatile set of stacks that will allow you to apply to positions out there. You know, again, you will find more data on salaries and what you can expect as a junior web development coming out of a boot camp on our website, because that's very specific on where you live, your own personal background, but really encourage you to research this, again, starting with our website, to understand, you know, what you could be making, what is reasonable expectation for you. But it is definitely an attractive career path, and one that is within reach, you know, going through a boot camp. And then again, just to help you prepare for what would come after a boot camp, check out some of our blog articles on how to get a job after a boot camp, what kind of jobs are out there. You know, start projecting yourselves into the kind of activities you know, that, you know, would be exciting for you. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ludo for a deeper dive into our curriculum.
All right, thank you, Karim. Hello, everyone. So let's talk about the curriculum that you got a preview of in the previous slide when we were presenting the 3 bootcamps that we have to offer. when you break it down, really those 3 bootcamps are made of 5 distinct courses or modules. So it's quite simple in that way. You see the very first bootcamp, the Web Development Fundamentals, is the very first course as well. And that's the one that's going to prepare you if you are a complete beginner and know almost nothing about web development. You're going to take that first module 4 weeks long to really get the fundamentals of building a web page, using CSS, and then learning JavaScript. From there, you're going to get into the Frontend Bootcamp or the Fullstack Bootcamp. And by the way, if you look at the slide, the Fullstack includes Frontend. So you, for example, you don't have to do both. If you do Fullstack, you'll actually do Frontend as well. That's part of it. And there, really, what we will do is throughout those 4 modules, we'll teach you to code using one project, learning project. And I see a question out there, how deep do you go? Well, taking that learning project and actually improving it module over module means that we're going very, very deep in the implementation of the technology. And I think that's, yeah, that was what he was asking that question earlier. But let me start with the beginning. So when you join Frontend or Fullstack, and you will have done that after taking the Web Development Fundamentals or after taking a test that we have on our website that will actually let you know if you're ready to go straight into Frontend and Fullstack. Then you will start with what we call Bootstrap. Bootstrap is the first JavaScript-based framework that we teach. It was developed by Twitter, actually, and it is meant to help you build websites that are quote unquote responsive. Now, what does that mean, responsive? Well, that means that you can build a website that will look great no matter on which device you're going to look at. It's going to look great on a phone, for example, with a very small display, and everything will be probably stacked horizontally together. Or it's going to look great on a laptop, or it's going to look great on a desktop, or it could actually look great on a TV as well. Bootstrap will allow you to pretty much reorganize the elements on the website to really adjust to the height and width of the screen. As simple as that. And it's a great introduction to web development because it's actually easy to use and the results are immediately visible on the website. So students really enjoy that one. It's a 5 weeks bootcamp. Sorry, a 5 weeks course. What Bootstrap doesn't do, though, is it only cares about presenting information. It doesn't help actually fetching that information from a database, for example. So you really need to really then learn React. React is one of the most powerful and advanced JavaScript framework developed, by the way, by Facebook. And really, React is about making your website smart, making your website capable of going to fetch information from a database, for example, and retrieving product information or user profile information, allowing your users to add something to a cart, as simple as that, or log into your website. All of those are really dynamic mechanisms that your website will need if you want to do commerce or if you want to expose a catalog of some sort. React is probably the most challenging module in our curriculum. It's a 5 weeks long module. But what's pretty interesting is seeing how students who are able to go through it, then when they get to React Native, the next module, they tell us that everything starts to make sense. And so you can really think about the progression and the difficulty of our bootcamp to go up to React and then going down again with React Native and the rest of the bootcamp. Now, let me tell you about React Native a little bit more, because this is where I think the magic kind of happens. Up until now, you will have built a website. React Native, again developed by Facebook, allows you to take that website, package it, I will say almost zip it, and make a mobile phone application out of it, in a way that actually your website suddenly will be available for download on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And the code will be pretty much the same. So that's really where the magic happens. And it's very rewarding to see all those efforts that we're put into building a website suddenly gives you access to a whole new world of monetization, of device functions that React Native allows you to get access to. Because suddenly your website has access to the camera, to the microphone, to the accelerometer. I mean, all the device capabilities now you can really leverage to turn your website into something even more. If you've signed up for Frontend, you will stop there. You will have actually learned everything you need to know when you think about just the user experience, the front-end experience. If you want to upgrade, by the way, at this point, you can still upgrade to continue on with the last module of Fullstack, which is what we call the backend module. And the backend module is really going to help you build that data environment that you will need to power your website or your mobile phone application. That's where you're going to store your products. That's where you're going to also store your user information. That's where you're going to allow user to authenticate on your app. So that's a very important element, I would say, for a web developer. It's not a requirement because in some companies, they will actually want people really focused on the UI, the user experience, and they will actually want other individuals focused on what we call the backend. Now, if you're like us, or if you are an entrepreneur and you want to do it all yourself, you pretty much want to do the full stack because you'll be able to complete everything from A to Z. Now, I talked about a learning project. You will actually work on more than the learning project throughout the bootcamp. You'll work on what we call the portfolio projects, which is really a series of exercises and projects that you're going to be able to demonstrate to a hiring manager. You're going to build your own project in group or solo with Bootstrap. So you're going to create your first website, simple website, but responsive website with Bootstrap. And then we're going to ask you to actually upgrade that project with React. And that's going to be a big undertaking. And then we're going to offer you to upgrade that project again with React Native. Now, some students actually decide to continue to go deep and deeper with their project on React. Some actually want to make the jump to React Native. That's going to be an option of yours. And then finally, of course, you're going to add the backend data to your own project using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. Now, if you think about when you're going to be able to start, and I think that was a question here, we have our next Web Development Fundamentals Bootcamp, the 4 weeks one, starting on December 30th. You will pay $320 up to December 16th, which is the end of the early bird rate. After that, you'll be paying $380. And then right after that, actually, you could actually sign up to this one and then sign up to start right after that to either the front-end or full-stack web and mobile development bootcamps that are starting on January 27th. The early bird date for those ones are in January, so you have plenty of time. I would just say something that we haven't mentioned on the slide, that we will probably increase slightly our prices in 2020. So starting January 1st, you're going to see those prices go up very slightly. But another good opportunity and reason for you to register earlier, because past January 1st, you'll have to pay a little bit more for those bootcamps. If you want to register, it's very simple. Go to your nucamp.co, pick your community, your city, and it's a very straightforward process to register. Now, of course, you could continue to hear Karim and myself talk about how great we think Nucamp is. But really, we think it will be even better for you to read the testimonials on those third-party websites. We mentioned Course Report. There's another one called SwitchUp. There's another set of reviews on Google. But then what we thought we'd do is just play that one video from Geneva who was a student of ours in Washington State. It's a very short video, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then what we'll do right after that is talk about additional success stories, and then we'll switch into the Q&A. So stay with us for that video, and then we'll be right back to talk about more student success stories and then answer all your questions that I'm seeing here on our screen. All right, let's cue the video. Hold on a second.
I wanted to look at a career opportunity that would be lucrative. And Nucamp kind of popped up, and I liked it a lot more than the other ones. I liked that it was more flexible. I didn't have to quit my current job.
They're basically very student-friendly.
And our instructor is awesome, Minay, and she's just really helpful, really above and beyond.
She's very helpful, and every time when I have a question, I can ask her and she can respond. The careers basically has no end. You can grow and grow.
I was really excited. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if anything, I was wanting to do more.
But I really like the way it's been this hybrid learning process.
I love that. I love that it's during the week, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to meet every single day. So I love that I can find childcare on Saturdays, and the rest of the week it's online. But yeah, sometimes I'm doing my homework and I get all excited. I'm like, this could be my life. So it's kind of cool.
All right, and we're back. I hope that was helpful. Again, we encourage you to go to those third-party review websites where students have been offering their feedback. We have more success stories, obviously. I can actually just talk to you about some of those. Jen Peters actually was in the IT industry and then left for almost 15 years, wanting to get back. Reached out to us and is now working at Amazon. Aaron Goodrum used to be a truck driver, one of the very first students we had in the state of Washington, and is now a QA tester and actually working also part-time with us. Lindsay just moved from the state of Washington to Texas and has found a job there as an integration technician. Nasir in Spokane joined us actually being pushed by his employer to learn more so that he could help them at the time. He did that and then actually got a better job in his current company as a web developer, and actually came back to us as well as an instructor helping other students. And he's actually one of the top instructors right now with the top ratings based on students' feedback. We have Joshua and Charles who have pretty much followed a similar path. We have students who are currently employed and really taking our bootcamp to get a better job. We have students who are currently employed but really wanting to change industry and finding a better jobs. We actually have a really wide variety of profiles and experiences. And the common denominator will be, I will say, why they come to us is the level of risk that they actually don't have to take. They don't have to quit their jobs. They don't have to shell out a huge amount of money. They actually can start, pause. And so we have more of those success stories that you can also read online in those third-party reports. All right, I think we're ready for your questions now, and please continue to ask them. There's a ton, and we're going to go at the top.
So starting with a very concrete question on Philadelphia, are we going to be starting in Philadelphia on the 30th? Right now, I think we have three or four students in Philadelphia. So good opportunity to explain a little bit more how the sort of student filling of classes work, and how do we decide to run a class or not. So basically, we have a number of cities. We have 25 cities right now where we have classes happening. And so by default, we offer this class as a in-presence class in the city. So that's the case for Philly. What happens is if we have enough students, then we'll run the class. If we do not have enough students, and our threshold is at 6 students, so it's pretty low, then we will offer to students to either postpone their bootcamp to 5 weeks later, because we have a bootcamp starting every 5 weeks, or alternatively to take that bootcamp via video conference, which is something we now have available, which is a very similar experience to the in-presence experience. It's basically the same support. You have a dedicated instructor. You actually will be grouped with students from your city. So you have the opportunity to network and to do study groups with students in your city. But we need a minimum number of students per instructor to be viable. So we will group a few cities together and deliver that through video conference. And of course, if at any point, this doesn't work for you, you change your mind, you can basically cancel your registration online. You don't have to call. It's very easy. It's a click of a button, and your tuition is fully reimbursed. So it's no risk there. We have other cities though where we have a different approach. We have a little less demand, and so we offer the bootcamp by default in video conference. If we're not already with a strong presence, we want to have students decide to register knowing that it is going to be probably via video conference. So that's the default offering. And now if we have enough students, it's the other way around. If we have more than 6, then we will make sure we transition to in-presence. Our goal is definitely to have in-presence workshops everywhere, but we have to find a way to get to that gradually.
I'll just add a few things. So in Philly in particular, we've started several bootcamps already. It's a very vibrant community right now. With 3 students registered for December 30th, I think our level of confidence that will start is pretty high. As you can imagine, we're seeing more people register up to the end of the early bird rate. Yeah, I think it's going to start very likely. Then what's really interesting is we already have 4 students registered for the front-end full stack. That's scheduled for January. So this one is very likely to start as well, I would say. So if you're hesitating, Andrew, I would say just go ahead and register and you'll be set.
So a question on, how do we compare ourselves to Savvy Coders or Launch Code? Not familiar with these 2 outfits. There are a lot of coding bootcamps out there, which I know makes it hard for you to take a decision. What I would say again is our model is very unique. So think about our model, which we haven't seen any other bootcamp offer. An online format during the week, but not just online on your own, a structured online program where you are actually supported by your instructor, but again, on your schedule. So you don't have to be in video conference during the week. You don't have to attend any specific time slot during the week. And then a very sort of structured program on Saturday mornings with the obligation just to move forward, to stay on track. And your instructor will help you do that so that you complete your bootcamp in 17 weeks or in 22 weeks. Do we offer job placement assistance after bootcamp is completed? So yeah, we actually offer a number of career services, if you like, although we don't have dedicated staff for that. So we offer, first of all, an actual career development course, which is a 6-week course that you can start to take as you get into the second part of the front-end or full-stack bootcamp. That will help you. It goes through basically networking, interviewing, resume building, working on LinkedIn, all sort of the basic skills you need to get prepared for, interviewing. We, also, offer you access to LinkedIn. There's a month free. And then the more important thing is you actually get connected with people that are plugged into the industry through your instructors, through your local community. And that's actually really important, especially if you're not in a huge city where there's already a lot of things available there. What I would add is that interviewing for what is essentially a technical position in web development is really an interview focused on your skills. So the most important part is build your skills, not spend, weeks and weeks developing soft skills. It's not a sales interview. You're going to get the job based on the work you can show. So your project is going to be super important. Your ability to go through the tests that are usually part of the process and demonstrate your skills are going to be super important. And then obviously you need to have a little bit of sort of training on how to take an interview, but it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. So lessons in PDF format rather than web version. Yeah, well, I mean, that's it's tough. First of all, I mean, Ludo, you want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a little bit of PDF, but you should know that the learning is very diverse. It's not just web version. I mean, there's videos, of course, there are exercises, online exercises that actually push you to code online. There's a wide variety of ways that we actually teach you to code. So yeah, we do have some PDFs, not all the time, but it's well taken.
The other important point to that is that we revise our curriculum all the time. There's new versions of just stacks and frameworks that have come out, adjustments. There's code we improve. Our instructor community is actually very vibrant and contributes to our curriculum, and improves it. So it's not a static set of documents, typical of what you would find in a classic university. It's a really rich set that we continuously revise.
Hey, DJ Carl, let me answer your question around C#, C++, and how you will actually get to learn them, or how do we help? So as you heard, we teach JavaScript, but what you should know as a developer at large in the industry is that you'll never stop learning. There will always be a new framework, a new language that at some point you're going to want to learn. And so we prepare you for two things really in Nucamp. Yes, we teach you JavaScript, but we also prepare you to learn new programs. And actually you'll see from pretty much all coding bootcamps have that mentality and philosophy of you have to learn to code. You have to learn about finding the right answer to a problem. And it really, that transcends any type of language that we will teach you. Now, if I look at your more precise question on C#, C++, you can certainly learn those languages after our curriculum. I would say for the exception of C++. C++ has a very special place, I would say, in the software industry, in the way that it's very raw and it gives you access to typically the machine's capabilities like no other languages could. You'll hear about managing the memory heap or stack. I would say if you're not a computer science graduate, stay away from it. It's going to be very challenging to master, and it's very specific to certain scenarios. Like, hey, you want to build the new Windows, or you want to build the new Chrome, right? Most likely, you're not going to try to do that. You're going to try to build something that uses those things. So I'll say C#, .NET languages, JavaScript, Python. I mean, all of those are fair game. You can learn that after our bootcamp, but I'll stay away from C++.
So how did you go into React and Node.js? Another question.
Yeah, so we go very deep, and I kind of touched on that earlier. Throughout the learning project, we actually ask you to work on and improve week over week a website that turns into a mobile application, and then we add the Node.js component to it. So we're going very deep on that. React itself is 5 weeks. We touch on Redux as well. And then it's covered again with React Native. So I don't know how deep is deep, but I will say it's a total with React of 9 weeks, very much. But again, it's also a progression of a portfolio project. I will end on this. It's not a series of tutorials, right? You don't really superficially touch on React by just doing one more tutorial. No, you actually build something every week that improves what you built before and builds upon what you've done before. So that's why we think we're pretty deep.
So question, when do we expect to see a class in St. Louis? So I think that's another good example. So typically this is a community that we're going to be serving in video conference by default. To be very transparent, we don't anticipate to have enough students to be delivering a class physically, at least for the 30th of December. But again, think about whether video conference works for you or not. This is something that we have, and there's a question around how long have you been running video conference based boot camps? We've been doing it now for over 6 months, and the feedback is very good from students. It's just a matter of what you prefer and what your preference is really. Very, very similar experience. Same structure during the week. On the weekend, the workshop itself, it is the same sort of timing, the same content, and instructors actually shift from delivering in presence to online on a regular basis. So they have actually an additional specific training on how to deliver an online experience, but you'll have basically the same kind of instructor delivering this. And there are pros and cons, right? Some people want to wake up and be physically in a location on a Saturday morning, and because that gets them out of house, and others actually will enjoy the ability to do this remotely from their home. Again, I would recommend, if you're looking at going through the introduction, the web fundamentals, you can definitely do that for 4 weeks online, and then see if you like it and you think that's a format that will work for you for the more advanced boot camps.
Nicole is asking about how to prepare for the Fullstack bootcamp. 2 ways, really. Well, first, I will invite you to take a 25 questions test that we have mentioned on our website. That test is going to tell you if you are ready to start straight away on the Fullstack or Frontend bootcamp. So if your score is higher than 85%, that means you have all the skills needed to start with the very first module, which is Bootstrap. If not, we encourage you to take the 4 weeks bootcamp that really gives you the fundamentals to then go further.
So are there makeup opportunities if a Saturday meetup is missed? Yeah, yes and no. So the workshop takes place, it's done. There's not going to be another workshop for you to be able to go through, but you can go through the work on your own. If you plan for it, you should definitely expect your instructor to help you a little bit. He or she won't go through a full workshop just for you, but we'll definitely guide you through some of the challenges if you need some help. What we recommend is, don't miss more than 1 workshop in a given module of 4 or 5 weeks, because otherwise you are likely going to fall behind and you'll have trouble just consolidating your skills. But if you do miss 1 workshop, especially if you plan for it and you work on it in advance, plan time to actually go through the workshop yourself, you should be good. Related to that is, as their extra credit, our grading system is more for you than really, for sort of external employers or certification. So we have a certificate at the end of the bootcamp that you will get if you've gone through the assignments with a passing grade of 6 over 10. And then we have an honors certificate for the advanced boot camps if you produce basically a project and a video and something that gets to a higher bar. But at the end of the day, we're not very focused on grades. We're more focused on giving you the skills, and you need to really put the effort in. When it comes to interviewing and to finding a job, what will make a difference is not your grades, it's the quality of your portfolio project and the work you produced. And then related questions, additional costs. No, there's 0 additional cost. The price that you see is the only cost you have, except for gas and parking if you're going to the workshop, basically, or your coffee. But all the software that we use is basically open source. You don't have to do anything beforehand. That will be actually installed in the course of the program, and all the material is included in the tuition.
Audi is asking about, can we transfer from full stack to front end and vice versa? Yes, you can. You can upgrade at the end, or actually anytime during your front end bootcamp, you can select to upgrade and you'll pay the difference. You can decide to stop. If you're registered to full stack, you'll stop before doing the last one.
Yeah, and then actually, Audi had another question around placement and network companies. So I'm guessing this question around, are there companies that are connected to us that are looking to our students? The answer is yes. We're actually getting a lot of inquiries. And so, you know, it just speaks to the fact that we're starting to be really networked in the different communities. And so again, through those companies reaching out to us, through our instructor network, you know, through the co-working space, if it's an in-presence workshop, you'll have opportunities to get plugged in to the local software development community and the local software development professional environment.
So Gallup Obsessions, have you thought about teaching Firebase for the server side? We do teach Firebase. There is one module right now as part of the Node.js Express and MongoDB course that touches on Firebase. We are also adding for the January course, we will be adding an AWS and Azure module. And since you asked, you should know that our website and most of our infrastructure is based on Firebase. So Nucamp.co is hosted by Firebase. So yeah, we do like it as well, and we are teaching it.
So question around payment plans, I should have mentioned that earlier. Yes, absolutely. So our web fundamentals, web development fundamentals, it's just a one-time payment because it's only $320 as early bird or $380 full price. All the other bootcamps are on payment plans by default. So the front end, the full stack are all in either 4 or 5 payments, an initial payment at registration, a first payment on the first day of your first class, and then monthly payments after that, which are all in the range of basically through $320 to probably $380 dollars, you know, based on what bootcamp and early bird pricing or not.
Yeah. And Brian knew that. Brian knew that it has already structured as a payment plan. Thank you, Brian.
So what prep courses do I need before starting the fundamentals bootcamp? So
you can start as a complete beginner, but it does help. It never hurts if you've done a little bit of learning on your own online. The students that succeed the most will be the ones who've expressed an interest in coding before joining our bootcamp. And oftentimes they would have expressed that interest by doing all the tutorials, you know, around building an HTML page, adding CSS to it, starting to get into JavaScript. I would really encourage that you do that. There's a lot of options online, free tutorials to, you know, $5 course on Udemy, you name it. But yeah, it will certainly help to prepare yourself with that before starting the web development fundamentals.
All right. Do you have summer classes in June to September? Yeah, so yes, our model is one where we have classes starting every 5 weeks. So we have 10 starts during the year. So yeah, it makes it pretty flexible for you to decide what works for you. So take a look at the schedule on your webpage.
I'm seeing June 15th right now to November 7th for full stack. So you take 5 weeks out of that. So October and for front end.
Yeah. So every 5 weeks, and again, you know, never hurts to register in advance because you can basically, if for some reason something changes, you can actually cancel and be fully reimbursed before the start of the bootcamp.
Nicole, if you complete web development fundamental modules, you will not have to do it again in front end or full stack. These are really separate. And then Ida is asking about modules that discuss UX design and processes related to that. We touch on it with Bootstrap when we actually ask you to think about the wireframing of your website. But this is not a UX design bootcamp. So we're not going to go through everything that you will want to know as a UX designer. So yeah, that's the answer. We touch on it, but this is not a UX design bootcamp.
So William, first few minutes, do we offer the intro phase as a fully online course? The answer is yes, but again, we don't like to call it online. We like to call it a really more remote workshop option or video conference, because it's really what it is. It's live with an instructor. It's on a set schedule, and you can take that full class, that full boot camp in any of the time zones. By the way, to access that, just go to our website and in the community, search for online, and you'll see the different options in the different time zones. So classes in Ohio, yes. So we have a few states where there is a regulatory body that basically prevents us from offering classes at the moment. Some states, and again, we don't want to bore you with the details, but have existing regulation that's not really matching the sort of coding bootcamp formats, and even less so hybrid formats such as ours that are partly online. And so we sometimes fall into the category of being a university, which we are absolutely not, and that creates a little bit of a challenge to get licensed and get accepted. So we're working on that. But in the meantime, if you live in Ohio, the best bet is definitely to go for one of our video conference-based boot camps.
And you can, by the way, you may not find our communities in Ohio for that reason, but if you look for online as the name of the city, you'll be able to register directly to the online communities.
Yeah, and we apologize, but it's not possible to give a deadline or any timeline for that, because we are actually talking with local government agencies, so we don't exactly control the timeline there.
How far do we go into JavaScript in the intro course? So we spend the first 2 weeks on HTML, CSS, last 2 weeks on JavaScript, and we go as far as having you update the HTML page just using JavaScript and only JavaScript. It's called, if you're familiar with it, maybe not, DOM manipulation, document object model manipulation. And that's the foundation of every modern frameworks who are pretty much doing that all the time to produce a web app.
So again, a question on, from Swati that registered in Livermore in the Bay Area, who are the instructors, and will the Saturday class be in person or local? Actually, I forgot to mention, I should have started with that. You can see what the status of the class is on the schedule. The schedule on the webpage, on your community webpage, will indicate if it is a remote workshop or not. So typically here, if you go to this community, you will probably see this with a badge saying remote workshop. And that basically signals that it will be delivered through video conferencing. Again, because at this point, we don't have enough demand in this city. So again, you can make your decision based on that. Our goal is definitely to go to in-person at some point, but right now it's offered in a remote workshop format. And then a question on signing up on the 30th and starting on January 2nd. Somebody wants to have a year-end celebration and not be bothered with starting classes on December 30, which we totally get. The start date is a Monday. The workshop is on a Saturday. So fair to say that, if you want to skip the first 2 or 3 days of working at home online, especially that first week of HTML, it's probably okay. It's not a very heavy week, the first week. So just put aside some time on the second, a little more time to catch up, and you should be fine. Orlando class in January.
Let me check. It's probably a go.
Yeah, Orlando's been a pretty vibrant community, and we've delivered a lot of classes already. So I don't know where we stand, but how are we looking?
And it's for January. Yeah, it's we have 2 people registered so far.
Should be good.
Many interested. Actually, 65 people interested. 2 months before the beginning, very likely.
So again, in the interest of time, we're not going to go through each city because we have a lot of people here. But just on the website, go to my community or the city if that's already configured in your browser. Scroll down, click on the bootcamp you're interested in, you'll see basically how many already registered by looking at how many full circles there are there.
Yeah, we probably need to accelerate because there's way more questions right now. So maybe we'll try to pick really ones that we haven't yet answered. Office hours.
So, if I'm stuck on something, is there anyone that I have access to on site? How often? That's a really good question around what's the support expectation during the week from our instructors. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so during the week, instructors are expected to be available every day. There's a delay to answer. That's a maximum of 4 hours. So you have help during the week. The in-person support is only on Saturday mornings, though. So if you are in a bootcamp that is an in-person bootcamp for the workshops, that will be when you'll be meeting in person. You will not have in-person support during the week.
Some of our instructors, they have different formats. We respect also, the way they want to provide support. So some are really quick, sort of responding on Slack, almost real time during the day, because that's the way they work. Others actually have office hours, so they will, set aside 30 minutes in the evening, for questions, and will actually take a call in some cases. So it's a little bit dependent on the instructor. So we have questions around, monthly passes and parking and things like that. We want to keep things simple. Our operations are lean, very simple, which makes our prices affordable. But on the other hand, yes, you definitely have to take care of additional costs such as gas, parking, etc.
Question from Audie regarding upgrading to Fullstack or Frontend in a different community. So that one actually, great question, because we have plenty of options for you to upgrade, but also move communities. We've actually had students starting in one community, then moving for family reasons to a different city, and then continuing on to the next community. We have various options also for you to pause. We know that because we're offering our bootcamps to busy adults who oftentimes already have a job, life can happen, and sometimes you want to be committed, but you just can't, and you're gonna be behind. So we offer you to pause it, and then we start a month later, for example. So plenty of options to really adapt to anyone's crazy life, I will say.
So just a question also from Liz, how the online class is structured Sunday to Friday. Is there any video format? So just to be clear here, during the week, it's at your own pace. So the material is videos, pre-recorded videos that teach the content. There's basically exercises, quizzes, code to write, things like that, but there's no live video during the week. That will happen only during the workshop, either in presence or via video conference.
Hey, I want to just say thanks for Bogdan for joining us. I think, Bogdan, you just joined us as an instructor in Bellevue very recently. And so I appreciate the feedback about being awesome. To answer your question, though, what will be a projection time for AWS and Azure? That will be in the delivery that we have in plans for February. So in February, I think it's February 2nd will be the next delivery for Nodejs, and that's when we'll have those modules.
All right, I think the last question I'd like maybe to take here as we wrap up and respect your time is, interviews are more focused on algorithms, data structures, not so much on language. Any help with that? I think, and I'll turn it over to Ludo, I think kind of it comes, to what kind of interviews you're looking at. If your interviews focused on algorithms, and then perhaps that's not exactly, the right interview for you. And let's talk a little bit about what's the expectation in terms of jobs after the bootcamp.
So I would say we do prepare you for some algorithm and some data structure. But indeed, as Karim said, if you're in an interview scenario where you're going to go for a high-level software engineering position at, let's say, Microsoft or Google, that's probably not where you want to be. You don't want to be in a position of having to compete with top software engineers who already have, a computer science degree and try to get into those high-tech company. As a graduate from a coding bootcamp, and any coding bootcamp, I will say, you want to really have the right expectations in terms of job search and what kind of jobs you're going to get right off the bat when you're done with the coding bootcamp. And it's going to be a small business. It's going to be a startup. It's going to be a traditional company who needs to compete in a digital space and is looking to beef up the IT department. It's not going to be working at Microsoft or Google or Facebook. And so it shouldn't be those type of interviews, or not, at least not too challenging interviews around algorithm and data structures. And we feel it's very important for us to be honest with that. And that's also how we differentiate ourselves in the industry. We don't want to set false expectations to our graduates that they are ready for a big job in a top tech company. It's just unrealistic. Unless you've had a computer science degree background and you've been doing that for a long time. But you will get a job in one of those more traditional companies or freelancing. There's 500,000 jobs that are going to go unfulfilled next year, still unfulfilled this year as well. So there are definitely jobs out there, and graduates are grabbing those jobs.
And I think the other part is it's, getting the first job is the beginning of your new career. So it's not to say that you cannot get into Microsoft or Google or Amazon down the line, after 2-3 years of, coding experience under your belt, and actually continuing to learn, because as Ludo pointed out, once you start, working in the industry, then learning becomes, part of your daily routine. And so, those jobs are, possible out there, but we want to set the right expectations as you graduate, at least.
All right.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time this morning, for engaging with us and asking all those questions. Exciting to see the interest in our program. We definitely look forward to having many of you sign up and be part of our boot camps that are coming up in December. Remember the early bird date.
December 16th.
December 16th. Don't miss that. Take advantage of it. In advance, we wish you a happy holiday season. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.